Today in the bunker, we're going to build some Adobe buildings. So the guy who got me started in wargaming, and that was back around 1979, needed some buildings made, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as my next project. We're going to build some simple Adobe buildings that are stuccoed and whitewashed. They'll work for certain parts of the Middle East, Old Mexico, anywhere where basically you've got cob or brick buildings that are covered with stucco and a little bit of lime stuck on them. Not like lime you'd put in a Corona, but in any case, I sat down and made some drawings, some initial plans, and figured out that when I did the first one, which was here, it's kind of small, and I found my pins. If you remember my earlier video, I said I couldn't find my pins, well I found those. Then I mocked one up, and they're a little on the touch on the small side. So we went a bit larger. So we went from 2.5 to 3 inches outside dimension. The stands of troops are going to be 2 by 2. They're 25mm troops, so I've tried to make a building that the windows will be about on their eye level, and the door should be an appropriate size for that. So we're going to make 4 like this, and then 2 larger, not quite a hacienda building, but a little bit larger. And other buildings will be in the future, but these are this is our first prototype we're going to make. So we're going to see how this does. I'm going to try some flexible spackle that I got, and it's on clearance, and maybe there's a reason it's on clearance, but we're going to try it and find out. Now this is our standard foam core, and for this project I probably could have gotten away with using white foam core, but I didn't have any. So we're going to use our standard black foam core. I glued it together with PVA, held together with pins until it dried. I put PVA on all of the exposed surfaces. I should have done that for the windows and the door, but I didn't. So we're going to cover those with spackle and see how that goes. Like I said, this is a prototype, so we'll make sure that this construction method works before we lay out 6 buildings and give that a go. So what I've done is taken a bit of the spackle and put it here on my filthy palette, and we will give this a shot as far as seeing how it adheres and spreads. So far, so good. All right, we'll continue on with that, and we'll be right back. So far, so good. This appears to be adhering pretty well. I'm just using a cheap palette knife. You can buy these in sets fairly inexpensively. I think I got this at like Michael's or someplace, so probably 20 years ago. But just, it's a lot like frosting a cake, the way this stuff goes on. It's definitely not tasty like frosting, so don't eat it, but as you can see, it gives it a nice texture. Alright, so we've got it on all sides, up around our roof edge. We'll let that dry and see what happens. Okay, so this is dried about 24 hours, and it's firmed up nicely. This was advertised as being semi-flexible, but it seems fairly firm. Doesn't feel as dry as normal spackling does. I imagine once we get some paint on here, then it'll feel just as solid as any other spackling, so at least we're going to hope. And I'm just going to go around and kind of trim off little excess bits from out of the windows and whatnot. And all in all, it seems to have worked fairly well. So we'll test this out with some paint and see what we get. I was going to spray paint this with some tan spray paint, but I'm out. So I'm going to apply some Country Tan, our usual acrylic paint. We'll see what that does. And we're just going to apply this neat. I'm not going to really thin it out because it's for terrain. So, but I want to give a good sand color, kind of a tan undercoat that we will then apply the white over. Dry brush that on to give it that appearance of lime being applied over kind of a mud base. I'm not exactly being gentle with it, and it seems to easily withstand the painting, so we'll see what we get. We'll do the rest and be right back. So there's the building with the basic base coat of tan, and the nice thing is the little spots you might miss that are white. It's fine, because we're going to dry brush it white anyway. So we're going to let this dry well, and then we will dry brush it with some white and see what we get. Alright, so that's dried. Now we're going to dry brush it with just some basic white and see what we get. This is probably a little heavier than a dry brush. It's more of an overbrush. But it gives it a nice worn look. Alright, we'll get the rest of that and see what we get. So after heavy overbrushing of white, we get suitably scruffy, kind of worn appearance. You could put a little more white on this if you wanted it to look a little fresher, but I think it gives it a nice overall color. And it's a good effect. So stay with us and we'll make some more. Thanks for watching, guys.